Councillor Sheldon is absent. Councillor Blum?
Here.
Councillor McGuire?
Here. Everyone please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I have to share a confession that ever since I've been on council, when we stand up to say the Pledge of Allegiance, I have this like unreasonable fear that I'm going to forget the words. And it hasn't ever happened in 12 years, but every single time I'm like, how does it start again? Wait.
We'll help you through it.
Exactly. Okay, the item for a presentation about John Mead Park from Director Golding.
Good evening, Mayor, members of council. Staff wanted to bring council up to date on a few issues with John Mead Park. So our 404 permit required us to do 2 years of monitoring. It's gone along a little longer than 2 years right now, as we were trying to meet the requirements of the 404 permit. So now that our monitoring is over, we ended up a little shy on the amount of wetlands that we were required to replace, repair, and bring back up to standard with our 404 permit. So in this back area, we have decided this is the best place to try and expand those wetlands to the amount that we are required to bring our park and wetlands area up. We ran into a number of issues both in the 404 permit as well as with our letter of map revision, making sure that there was zero rise in the floodplain. Part of that was a number of issues, but with the cell tower that we had to leave, we had to make some changes to the loamer, and we have been working with Respect and Alan Leak on making sure that we had no rise. So we've been able to bring both issues into one regrading project so we can meet the required wetlands and our no rise. The present condition, there is a very small rise, and so we are able to, with some earthwork and grading, lower some areas that didn't get as wet as they were supposed to get. Again, for us, this isn't normal. We do a project and it's done. But with this, we have to go back and do a little bit of grading. And so I will let Troy talk a little bit more, Troy Carmen with Icon, who is working on the city side, also with Respect, talk a little bit more about the requirements for us to meet both of those conditions. So,
thank you, Jay. Mayor, Council, Troy Carmen, Icon Engineering. I think Jay might have just hired me under somebody else there for a second, but happy to speak to the drawings here in a little bit more detail. As Jay said, we're balancing two federal permit requirements, one taking care of the ecology of the wetlands, the other taking care of the flood risk that both have to coexist here in John Mead Park. The grading plan that we have here from Alan does a really clean job of just getting us underneath the no rise condition for flood risk during a major 1% annual chance or 100-year storm, and also then working with the ecologists, getting us to a point where the plants have enough groundwater to sustain themselves and grow in the way that preserves the wetlands. And so the grading plan here is intended to show that it's a very small footprint and actually a very delicate amount of grading. It's not like this is a massive earthwork operation. This is pulling out some soil to regrade the area and keep it a very natural look at things. And then from there, you can see a little bit more perspective with the aerial photo where that groundwater and planting zones come into play. And for what it's worth, comparing the engineering drawing to the ecological drawing, you can hopefully correlate the contours with what's happening with the groundwater there. So what the team's been able to come up with here is a solution that tackles both permit requirements with one operation. We've had iterations where there was disturbances across a larger area of the park. This solves both of those problems in one fell swoop. So with that, we have a little bit of a timeline here, but also happy to take any questions that you may have.
Does council have any questions? I just have one. Councilor Holen.
Just, and so obviously it looks like you're going to be digging out anywhere from a half a foot to a foot and a half in those areas.
Sure.
Just out of curiosity, is that dirt going to be hauled off or is it going to be put elsewhere?
That material's hauled off site, and I don't think we have a particular spot for it just yet, but it's removed from the site.
Yeah. In our first iteration, we looked at keeping it on site, but it was double the disturbance, and we didn't want to have to revegetate. Sure. We had looked at the far back corner closer to the old picnic shelter. With the new statue in there and the trails that we've put in Ralph's Reading Garden, we decided it was worth hauling that off. It's about 383 cubic yards of soil, and that's part of the RFP IBF to the contractor will find a place to legally haul that off to, whether it's to one of their other construction sites, to someone else's construction site, or to the landfill. If it goes to the landfill, it will be used to cap places as they close areas of the landfill.
Thanks.
Okay.
Great.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you much.
Next up is audience participation. I'm so excited that we actually have some people in the audience to participate tonight. It's not a very common occurrence, so welcome and thank you to all of you for coming. There was a sign-up sheet on the table, so if you didn't get a chance to sign up, please do that. And then the way this will work is that the clerk will bring that sign-up sheet up to me. I will call your name. You'll have 5 minutes to speak. You come up to the podium. You state your name and address for the record, and then the little green light on top of the podium lights up, and as your 5 minutes approaches, it'll turn yellow and then red. And also, just as a reminder, if you haven't done this before, audience participation is an opportunity for the public to speak to us, but it unfortunately is unsatisfying to some people that it's not a dialogue. So we won't respond necessarily in this moment. Generally, what happens is if something is brought to our attention that needs to be addressed, later in the meeting, we will direct staff to take whatever appropriate action is necessary. But so, please don't ask us questions we won't answer. And the reason for that is that we're required to public notice any topics that we're going to discuss. So if we enter into a discussion that's not on the agenda, we're breaking the open meetings laws. So first up is Casey Jackson. Please come up and state your name and address.
Good evening. I'm Casey Jackson. I live at 16 Sandy Lake Road, and I'm here to speak about a dog park and fencing issue that is of great importance to Cherry Hills Village. Cherry Hills is neighborly, it's open, park and trail friendly, and generally quiet. And we are our own community, a tight-knit community. And what is we don't have stadiums, we don't have dog parks, manufacturing, or other loud facilities in the village. We also have what is arguably the best trail system in the Denver metro area, trails that we and our children have ready access to for recreation, to get to and from school, and to visit our friends across Cherry Hills. These trails have always been easily accessible from most of our neighborhoods through direct access from streets, sidewalks, and easements. Unfortunately, the Buell Mansion neighborhood has taken a troubling first step in interfering with the character of Cherry Hills. In the summer and fall of 2023, the Buell Mansion HOA board took steps to create a fenced and unsanctioned dog park in Cherry Hills and on space that is currently zoned O1 open space. The only steps the Buell board took before erecting the fencing and putting the once open space into use as a dog park were a board vote followed by misleading permit applications to the city to replace a non-existent fence. Buell erected the fence before receiving any approval. The board did not advise the city that it was planning on creating an off-leash dog park. nor did the board advise that the dog park fencing would block easement access to the village trail from both the Buell and Devonshire neighborhoods. It does so with 2 fences that are at times locked. Moreover, residents trying to use the easement to access or leave the village trail are now forced to enclose themselves with off-leash dogs. This forces those using the easement to be responsible for trying to keep the same off-leash dogs from escaping onto the village trail. The board has since attempted to recast the dog park as many things: a social gathering place for people with dogs off-leash, a picnic area for people with dogs off-leash, which seems to invite numerous health and safety problems, and the most ludicrous of all, a security fenced area that people can use with their dogs while off-leash. The fencing provides minimal, if any, security to the neighborhood. When locked or even just closed, it slows people down from escaping the village trail if chased by out-of-control horses, dogs, or other animals, or even potential assailants. But it doesn't stop anyone from slipping around the fence, which is not fully enclosed, or simply entering Buell through another designated entry point or resident property. The fact is that the area was created to be a dog park. The board didn't seek city approval and didn't evaluate nuisance, maintenance, or odor issues. It didn't look into drainage of water containing pet waste. It didn't adopt approved rules. In fact, only now is the board trying to come up with and vote on rules for a dog park. It didn't take into account the noise a dog park creates for neighbors or nuisance and harm a dog park so close to the village trail would cause trail users, many of whom ride horses that can easily be spooked by barking dogs. And importantly, Buell's creation of its own fenced easement and private dog park creates bad precedent. If the city does not take action to declare this project a nuisance, other neighborhoods in Cherry Hills will seek that they can fence and gate off trail access, create their own dog parks, and otherwise change the use of zoned areas without city review or approval. These are issues that numerous other Colorado municipalities have faced, and many cities have adopted strict rules about dog parks, be they are public or private, to ensure that the dogs are leashed and were appropriate. And then the dogs are only allowed to gather in off-leash areas where a thorough review shows that it is not a harm to residents, the city, or water quality. Cherry Hills Village should do the same. Allowing the Buell fencing and dog park to continue without abatement is untenable nuisance and presents a very danger to the health, quiet, open, and neighborly community we all enjoy in Cherry Hills. I ask that you take this opportunity to investigate the fencing and dog park in more detail and to appropriate items to the city's agenda to abate this nuisance situation. I have been in the process of circulating a petition. I'm not ready to present that yet, but in just the 3 days of the freezing temperatures, I have had great success, and I look forward to presenting that in the near future. And I thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you.
And my husband was listed under there. I just thought we had to sign in as.
Oh, okay, yeah, as
So
a
he
sign
doesn't
it,
need
no,
to speak.
okay. I mean, you're welcome to speak, but you don't have to if you'd like. So Jake Jackson declines, I'm assuming. Is it William Schwab? I made a mistake. I thought it was just. Oh, okay. Gwen Kuklo. And just remember to state your name and address.
My
Thank
name
you.
is Gwen Kuklo. I live at 2 Sandy Lake in Buell. Mayor Brown, members of the City Council, thank you so much for listening to our concerns tonight. We appreciate your time, and we hope to convey that this isn't just an isolated HOA issue in one neighborhood, but is already affecting surrounding neighbors and could potentially affect all of Cherry Hills Village. I cannot emphasize enough the shock that many residents of Buell had when all of a sudden a dog park, which apparently is also a security offense, appeared in the back of our neighborhood. Our HOA board never asked for any input from residents before blocking our land access easement to the bridle path that has been used for 25 years. There was no communication whatsoever with residents and no permission, as you just heard, verbal or written, from the Jacksons, who are the adjoining neighbors. Their fence adjoins this dog park. Nonetheless, we understand that you do not want to get involved in HOA issues. But once we discovered that the permit to the city was submitted without any mention of a dog park or security fence, we felt that not only has there been a blatant disregard for consulting with homeowners in Buell, but also a blatant disregard for the city's permit and site plan amendment process. We also believe that what has happened in Buell sets a very dangerous precedent for all of Cherry Hills Village and is potentially a slippery slope. If one neighborhood can successfully block access to the trail system, citing security issues, what prevents other neighborhoods from doing the same? If not this year, the next year, all in the name of security. This is especially dangerous if just a few residents have the power to influence our beautiful and open trail system. The fence blocking our access is severely impacting our neighborhood and Devonshire. Not only does Devonshire not want a dog park in Buell, they do not want their access blocked. They want the land access easement to remain open. We've spoken with multiple walkers, runners, and bikers in both neighborhoods who are very frustrated. Now even kids who use the access to bike to school from Kent or Cherry Hills Village Elementary are blocked from using that trail access. Can you imagine the impact if there are gates shutting off trails currently used by so many people? Besides this easement issue, there is also the issue of the easement along the east side of Buell, running along the Devonshire fence. That easement has also been blocked. Our board president was dismissive of this easement in a meeting, saying there are hundreds of abandoned easements in Cherry Hills Village. For our board to have not researched this easement and to have not consulted with the city before blocking it off with the fence is another blatant disregard of city procedures. So far, in acquiring signatures for our petition, we have not spoken with one person in Buell, Devonshire, or other neighborhoods in Cherry Hills Village who want the dog park or fence blocking the trail system. The word is spreading quickly about what the Buell HOA board has done, which of course also reflects poorly on all of Cherry Hills. If this negative publicity spreads beyond Cherry Hills, we run the risk of being perceived as even more exclusive, even more of a bubble, if a neighborhood succeeds in shutting people out. We believe that inclusivity of our trail system is one thing that is so appealing about our village and keeps us connected to all of Denver. But we need your help in stopping our board from being allowed to shut off our trail access with a dog park security fence. We are asking for you to intervene before this dangerous precedent for Cherry Hills Village goes any further. The dog park and fence need to be taken down. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you. That's everyone who's signed up, but is there anyone else who, since you took the time to come to the meeting, would like to say anything? This would be your opportunity. Okay, well, thank you very much. As I said, it's not a dialogue, but I do want to assure everyone that the city staff is aware of this issue and is working to respond, to determine the appropriate response. So please know that we are aware and are taking action as appropriate. We then move on to reports from members of city boards or commissions. Seeing none, we move to the consent agenda.
Move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The consent agenda passes unanimously. Unfinished business, Council Bill 14, Series 2023, amending Article 7 of Chapter 16 of the Municipal Code concerning variances and floodplain variances on second and final reading. Director Workman.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and members of City Council. It's nice to be back before you, first of the new year. Hope you all enjoyed your holiday season and your festivities. Welcome back to the work of text amendments to the Municipal Code. As you're aware, this is the second and final reading for this minor text change to some of the language associated with variances and floodplain variances. I'm sure Council recalls the discussion that you all had in December of last year related to the term exceptional hardship, which resulted in Council decision not to move forward with a definition for this term. Instead, council concluded that the description of exceptional hardship in the variance section of the code was sufficient and directed that the floodplain variance section of the code be amended to provide examples as to the granting of a floodplain variance and a demonstration of an extreme hardship being an unusual and extreme remedy for granting. Staff will bring back revised language for council discussion at a future date. Included in the discussion from last month was also 3 minor text changes to the language in the variance of floodplain variance criteria, mostly for ease of reading and for reference. So as I mentioned, there are 3 proposed changes. The first one is shown on this screen with deletions shown in the strike-through. So it would be amended to read, the applicant would suffer an exceptional hardship as a result of the application of this chapter, which is not generally applicable with other lands, so on. The second one would be to add a reference to another section of the variance section of the code, so that every variance shall transfer and run with the land, adding the language as provided for in section 16.7.520 G4. And the third and final proposed amendment, again for ease of reading, the second half of this sentence would be amended to read, have been weighed and favor granting the floodplain variance. That would conclude my presentation. However, I'm available for any questions. The recommended motion is on the screen before you. Thank you.
Okay, well, we know we've discussed this, a lot of it ad nauseum, and this is, all of that discussion has resulted in these 3 changes. Does anyone have any questions about these 3 changes? I think we're all in agreement. Okay, then I would entertain a motion.
I move to approve Council Bill 14, Series 2023, amending Article 7 of Chapter 16 of the Municipal Code concerning variance and floodplain variance language on the second and final reading.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Counselor Eber?
Aye.
Counselor Holen?
Aye.
Counselor Wheel?
Aye.
Counselor Blum?
Aye.
Counselor McGuire?
Aye.
That passes unanimously. We now will move on to the, I don't adjourn this meeting, I just recess, that's right. So I will recess the city council meeting at 7:52 p.m. and call to order the meeting of the Cherry Hills Village Charlou Park 3rd Filing General Improvement District Board, also at 6:52 p.m. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Board Member Eber?
Here.
Board Member Holen?
Here.
Board Member Wheel?
Happy to be here.
Chair Brown?
Here?
Board Member Sheldon is absent. Board Member Blum? Board Member McGuire?
Here.
The item on the agenda is the consent agenda.
Move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes unanimously. I will adjourn the meeting of the Cherry Hills Village Charlou Park 3rd Filing General Improvement District Board at 6:53 p.m. and call to order the meeting of the Cherry Hills Village Southmoor Circle and Hudson Parkway General Improvement District Board. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Board Member Eber?
Here.
Board Member Holen?
Here.
Board Member Wheel?
Happy to be here.
Chair Brown?
Here?
Board Member Sheldon is absent. Board Member Blum?
Here.
Board Member McGuire?
Here.
The next item is the consent agenda.
Move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes unanimously. I will adjourn the meeting of the Cherry Hills Village Southmoor Circle and Hudson Parkway General Improvement District Board at 6:54 p.m. and reconvene the Cherry Hills Village City Council meeting. For those of you in the audience, that seemed a little silly. General improvement districts are groups of people who have agreed amongst themselves to tax themselves for certain services. In both of these cases, there are 2 neighborhoods in Cherry Hills Village that got together to underground the utilities in their area. And so they vote, they agree to tax themselves, and the city administers that for them, and the city council acts as the board of those general improvement districts. So we were just approving the minutes from the last meeting, basically.
And Mayor, speaking of those minutes, I don't know if this is allowed or not, but do we have to include all of the minutes for the special district minutes? In other words, because all the minutes are there of the council, can you just only put the pages associated with the special district minutes?
Yeah, I don't think there's any problem with that. I can.
Just seems like that's an easier way to do that. I mean, in other words, rather than have all the city council minutes attached 3 times really in this particular case.
Keep it simple.
Yeah, if that's easier for you guys as you're looking through the packet, I can make that change.
All right, thank you. Okay, so the next item is reports. We'll start with the mayor's report. It has been a while since we have met. Things are still progressing legislatively on the zoning reform efforts. I've still been participating in weekly meetings about transit-oriented development. We know that that bill is coming. We know that the ADU bill is coming. And we know that regional housing assessment and planning bill is also coming. And that work there's nothing really new to report, except that it's still very concerning and still on the radar. The Colorado Municipal League Policy Committee meeting is meeting this Friday, and as the representative, I'll be attending that. You should have all received an invitation to CML's legislative workshop, and so if you are interested in attending that, the city, I think, has traditionally been willing to send anyone who wants to attend, so I would encourage you, if you're interested, to register for that. I think it does fill up, so if you're considering that you might like to go, you might consider registering as soon as possible.
Mayor, with regard to this particular issue, and then tomorrow, I guess, right, is a town hall with
Yes.
Representative Froelich and Senator Bridges. Do you have any sense of whether any of those issues will come up during that town hall?
I don't have a sense. Neither Representative Froelich or Senator Bridges are sponsors of those bills at this time, so I don't know that they'll bring it up, but it is a town hall meeting and there are questions, and so for the general public, anyone in the audience, anyone who's watching online, our state representative and state senator are holding a virtual town hall meeting tomorrow from, I think, 6 to 7. You have to register in order to get the Zoom link, but it's open to the public. And if there are any issues that you have questions about for our representatives, please participate and feel free to ask that. And if you have any specific questions about ADUs, which I can say last year, Representative Froelich was a strong supporter of that bill. Please, participate and ask questions and become informed. And I think that is about the extent of my report, so we'll move on to members of council. Councilor McGuire.
I have no report.
Councilor Blum.
No report.
Councilor Wheel.
Well, thank you, Mayor. Couple of things. First of all, I have to thank Jim for the extension of the dais. It's nice to be able to see almost everybody. Chief. Also, we have a presentation coming up tomorrow night. Tomorrow night's Dr. Cog board meeting on housing and legislation, and so there was nothing in the advanced packet that gave any indication as to what was going to be discussed. It was just a placeholder. So I'll keep you informed if there's something important that comes up. That's all I have.
Councilor Holen.
No report.
And Councilor Eber.
A couple things. Mayor, both you and I were involved in an email exchange with a resident about speeding on Albion. Continues, Police Chief, you have been included in this as well. Comment, generally, I guess it's sort of early morning school hours about people cutting the corner and not waiting for the light on Kent and instead going down Albion. And so I think, Chief, you've already been looped in, and already I've seen the speed truck out there, and I've already seen the commenter also asked us about the four-way stop at Mansfield and Colorado Boulevard, and I've already seen one of the officers out there, or more than one out there. So, speeding does continue to be an issue within the village, at least some sentiments of it. It gives me a perfect opportunity to cite my article that I wrote for the January issue of the Crier, where I did remind people of the importance of carefully driving throughout the village, and the life that we all save may be either our own, our loved ones, or somebody else that we care about and would not want to have that happen. So pursuant to our traffic calming plan that we talked about a few months ago, the onus is on us, and the data seems to be that most of the speeding that goes on within the village is by, sad to say, but our own residents within the village. We have a lot of nice people here in the audience tonight, so I'm going to use this as an opportunity to remind everybody that speeding and safe driving is incredibly dangerous, and our safety is very, very important. Speaking of my article, I've received a number of nice comments. I assume everybody who writes theirs gets nice comments, but I did want to say on the record to the people who may be watching, thank you very much. I wish everybody a nice and happy 2024. And there are a number of kind of code enforcement issues that I'm working offline with the city folks on, and we'll report back a little bit more later.
Great, thank you very much. Reports from city manager and staff. I don't know if you want to start or have something.
I'll kick it off. Mine will be short. First of all, Happy New Year to everyone. Welcome back, and we're going to have a great year. I just want to let you know that I'll be sending out an email tomorrow regarding our council retreat, which is March 5th, and it'll have a draft agenda. Please take a look at it. If you have things you would like to add, delete,
Your mic went off.
and we'll make those adjustments. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. I guess we always start over here. We're going to start over here. The city attorney. Okay. Director Farman.
No report this evening. Thank you.
Wow, everybody's so quiet. Clerk Gillespie. Chief.
No such luck from here. Just really one thing, and with two pieces. One is just to advise you that on January 5th, we hired Officer Darian Ives, an experienced police officer who has now joined our ranks. That does put us at 100% of authorized strength. And I've said this before, but I'm very proud of that. I think we are, at least at last check, the only law enforcement agency in the metro area that can say they're fully staffed to 100% of their authorized strength. As an extension to that, to Council Member Eber's point, once he finishes his field training, which should only be just a few weeks for him, then we'll be able to fully staff our traffic unit again. As you might remember, Officer Justin Smith was a member of that unit, stood that traffic unit up and then was injured in that motorcycle crash. He has now been released back to full duty, which I'm thankful to say, given the extent of his injuries. And then the officer that Officer Ives replaces then becomes the second member of that traffic unit. So in a few weeks, we will have 2 officers dedicated full-time to traffic enforcement and education. So we're really happy to see that finally come to fruition. It's been a long time in the making. And that is it for me. Thank you.
Thank you. Director Workman.
Just a couple other things related to the state housing stuff. We do have a meeting with our lobbyists tomorrow that I'll attend and include updates as necessary in the Friday update for you all. I too will be attending the CML session. I think that's going to be really informative, actually. And we had our weekly transit-oriented community meeting this afternoon. We haven't seen an updated draft of that bill since late December. They did claim that they would be releasing a new draft probably later this week, if not early next week. So once we get that, we'll make it available as well. That's it for me.
Thank you. Director Goldie.
Just real quick, we've had a small delay in getting our electric vehicle charging stations up and running here at City Hall. So within the next 2 to 3 weeks, we should be able to get those powered up and running. Also, as you know, we've got a ton of capital improvement projects this year in Public Works. So over the next few months, as we get those projects bid, you will be seeing a lot of our contracts and purchase agreements for all of those projects. We've got most of them started, so we will have a lot of work on our hands this year.
Great, and thank you to your team for, I'm always amazed at what a difference there is as soon as you cross into Cherry Hills Village on a snowy day.
I will let them know. Thank you.
Manager Black.
I have no report.
Thank you very much. Well, then I guess I would entertain a motion to adjourn. Second, adjourned at 7:05 PM. Thank you all for coming. That's almost a record, I think.